Ladies and gentlemen, surprise, surprise, the New York Times wrote a hit piece on Elon Musk. Gee, I wonder why. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, they're basically working for the Democratic Party. That's not hyperbole. It just basically, that's the way things are. They're not journalists with no desire to influence politics. Journalism used to be about truth. You might have a liberal or conservative, you might have had a liberal or conservative viewpoint. Publications always leaned either to the right or to the left, but journalism was about the truth. Okay, the Washington Post with Watergate, even Republicans back then said, wait a second, this is wrong. Watergate, you can't have that. Now you have Democrats, and the Durham Probe Special Counsel, I do a lot of segments on, a lot of work on, has basically told the world that Trump was set up and framed. You'll never find a Democrat on the planet to say that was wrong. It's always, well, he was a big obstacle to national security because the DNC emails showed that Bernie Sanders was cheated. And that was the plot of another country to inform you. So the information that is deemed deceptive, that usually comes from, nowadays, from publications like the New York Times and the Washington Post, the same publications that are being sued by a number of people, but that lost a lawsuit against Nicholas Sandmann. Washington Post, CNN had to fire 3 of its employees not long ago, a couple years back. They're always retracting stories. They're always fomenting suspicion and distrust of Trump based on gossip or hearsay in a latest book. That's reported as actual news. Anything like Hunter's emails is actually suspended on Twitter, which gets us back to Elon Musk. Twitter, in addition to the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, The Atlantic, Vanity Fair, Esquire, BuzzFeed, Mother Jones, The Daily Beast, all of these publications are a public relations monstrosity for one political side. So people who weren't really into politics up until a couple years ago when Trump was in the Oval Office, they're looking at all of this, they're saying, well, gee, all of the apolitical publications or everyone is just against Trump, so it must be true. And they don't realize that journalism changed after 2015, 2016. The Daily Beast, for example, wrote a hit piece on me, published a hit piece. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. The unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. My writing was being shared in the Huffington Post, the Hill Salon, hundreds of thousands of times. I told everyone that Clinton would lose to Trump. That was blasphemy and heresy. So the only thing that was published was that I wouldn't speak to the journalist at the Daily Beast, or the journalist, that pitched the story. I don't know how much money he got, just to disparage me, because I wouldn't speak to him because I knew he would disparage me. So what they do is they write hit pieces that they can't actually argue against your position, or in the case of Elon Musk, they'll try to stop a purchase of Twitter because they don't want existing free speech laws to govern speech. There are already laws in the books protecting citizens from information that could harm them. If you can prove in a court of law that information anyone gives you has harmed you, you can sue them and take them to court. Or if you can prove somebody is, planning to do something bad to you, you can file a police report like I did. That's why I'm no longer on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter because somebody threatened me. Well, that's not the only reason, but somebody threatened me. And went to the police station, and the police officer said, well, you know what to do, arm yourself. And so I took advantage of the Second Amendment. I have firearms now to protect myself and my family, and I filed a police report on the actual, using the Twitter handle. Okay, you can do that. You can actually file a police report using a Twitter handle. You can actually sue somebody for defamation or libel. You can do that if somebody does these things against you on Twitter. Existing laws protect you from speech. Okay, that is harmful. If you point this out, what happens is the following. They'll try to go after what the left does, what the Democratic Party does through different organizations. They go after your pocketbook. They can't defeat your argument through reason, logic, rational discourse. So they go after your pocketbook, or they'll call you a bigot, or they'll say you worked with the Kremlin. It's one of the three, okay? Or all three combined. So hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below. We're going to have a devastating stock market crash. We're seeing it right now in slow motion. When I was talking about the economy tanking and the stock market tanking, that was October of last year. Everything that I've been saying is happening. So hit subscribe to this channel. Elon Musk predicted not long ago a recession. I was talking about a recession last year. We're now heading into a recession. Wealth inequality has become worse. Inflation is through the roof. That's a tax upon working people. People suffering with struggling through poverty, crime, homelessness, all up under President Mashed Potato Brains. But anyway, we have the worst geopolitical nightmare in modern European history. But Democrats, the big problem now is allowing people to voice their opinion, voice dissent on Twitter. That's a big problem, okay? And what happens is, thankfully, you have Elon Musk and his mom. His mom is actually Mae Musk, latest to call out New York Times for critical story about Elon's childhood. Interestingly enough, if you look, nothing at 68, Mae Musk, the mother of Elon, is reclaiming the spotlight. This is a New York Times article in 2016. Notice how there was no vitriol. It's a wonderful article about her, and her upbringing, and there's a picture of Elon Musk when he's young, and it's just a glowing article because Musk wasn't a obstacle or threat to the system or to Democrats. Fast forward 5-6 years, and suddenly Elon Musk is a big problem. He's allowing Twitter to become an actual forum where people can offer dissenting opinions, viewpoints. What happened to Tim Pool recently, for example, is that the one organization on the left that used to be a very, very prominent organization in civil rights decades back now hides behind that history and then just goes after anyone they disagree with and lumps them with true bigots and truly harmful people. But anyone they disagree with, it's basically, well, Tim Pool is making they wrote a hit piece. And it was an unethical hit piece with the most absurd allegations. If you listen to Tim Pool like I do often, like throughout the week, okay, and he's fantastic. The reason he does so well is because he's very logical and he's very rational and there's nothing prejudiced or bigoted about him at all. The problem is that his arguments are very, very compelling, and because his arguments are so compelling and because he's rational and logical and he uses reason and thoughtful dialogue, discourse, debate, discussion, which is the same thing as Joe Rogan does, they want to go after his pocketbook. He's making too much money, according to that organization. So they found a study from a partisan group, and then they used this partisan study to say that, oh goodness, Tim Pool is making too much money and YouTube should do something about it. They want to go after the source of income of all YouTubers who disagree with the Democratic Party. Or they want to silence people who disagree with not only Democrats, but experts that Democrats utilize to justify whatever it is they want to implement. You either work for the Kremlin, they accuse Tulsi Gabbard of that, they accuse Bernie Sanders of that, they accuse Donald Trump of that, or you're unknowingly helping another country disparage Democrats. Or there's a story like Hunter's emails that or the DNC emails that is a plot by another country. I mean, the propaganda spin is so vapid, it's so transparent. And they have groups that masquerade as, nonpartisan or masquerade as organizations that combat bigotry. And what they do really is the truly bigoted people really don't care about these organizations because they're not platformed anywhere. What happens is they go after anyone who has a compelling argument against the prevailing paradigm. So they go after people by going after advertisers and going after their livelihood. It's the only way Democrats can actually voice their thoughts. It's by suspending or banning any dissent, by claiming a consensus that is fabricated because any dissenting opinion or anyone who's committed heresy or blasphemy is either written about negatively in the New York Times or the Washington Post, or they go after the pocketbook of the person so they can't feed their families, or they'll try to prevent, with everything they have, a purchase of what's supposed to be a town square or a public forum in Twitter. For years, they were saying Twitter was... So the New York Times hit piece was not... in 2016, it was a beautiful, wonderful piece about May Musk and Elon Musk. And this is at 68, May Musk, the mother of Elon, is reclaiming the spotlight. That's a New York Times article on April 30th, 2016. No mention of how he was... raised in a bigoted, prejudiced environment in South Africa, and no mention of anything like that. Now, fast forward, Elon Musk is buying Twitter, allowing people to actually voice their viewpoints, because we know that Democrats and left-leaning pundits, and they can't argue their viewpoint. They have to call a person a bigot, they have to say that they're working for the Kremlin, or they have to try to take money out of their pocket and go after advertisers or try to get them banned or suspended on any platform. There's three ways they go, and then the occasional hit piece that helps do all those things. So it's public relations, it's character, it's public relations. They want to disparage people because they can't actually argue a viewpoint they feel is harmful. They can't defeat whatever it is they feel is harmful. So, for example, I defeated Richard Spencer's arguments in a debate that I had on this channel. You could see that debate on hagoodman.com. It's on YouTube. I defeated his harmful rhetoric, ideology, viewpoints with reason, logic, discourse, and it was a civil debate. And I used, reason and logic to defeat something completely illogical, irrational, and harmful. Okay. Especially the last 20 minutes. Watch that. Do you think the New York Times is going to go and debate somebody like Mr. Spencer? No. What they're going to do is actually go after liberals, left-leaning people, Elon Musk, Tim Pool. I started on the left. They'll go after people on the left. What the New York Times, it could be Media Matters, it could be SBLC, it could be any... Their goal is not really to combat harmful ideologies, because they know those harmful ideologies aren't really platformed at all. What their goal is, or are not at all, what their goal is to go after anyone on the left or supporting Trump. Mainly, though, they'll relish in going after people to the left of center, or people who used to be to the left of center, or people voting for Trump because they don't want never-ending wars or they want a great economy. And they'll paint all Trump supporters as horrible people. And despite Trump doing better with non-white voters than any president, than any Republican in the past 60 years, they say Bush did better than him. There's one rebuttal to that. But Trump was the only president to allocate more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. Signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. Trump did. First president to step foot in North Korea. President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. We had record low black and Latino unemployment. We had, like I said, the Doha Agreement, which reversed U.S. foreign policy that mashed potato brains Biden completely botched. Those 13 Americans should be alive today, and those over 100 Afghans should be alive today. You have the same people on the left looking at every single day horrible, horrible atrocities taking place throughout the country. In that summer, $1 to $2 billion in property damage, around 20 lives lost according to Wikipedia. That was completely disregarded because it was, we had to come to terms with our past. Fine. But nothing is worth $1 billion to $2 billion in property damage, or police buildings in flames. CNN said fire but peaceful, literally standing behind a building that's set ablaze, and they focus, of course, only on one day in January because it happened to be the people doing the damage, which I condemn, happened to be supporters of Trump. And so they lie by omission. And when they don't lie by omission, they silence and suppress any dissenting viewpoint. And when they don't lie by omission or silence and suppress any dissenting viewpoint, they then go after a person's character and try to label them a bigot or operative of the Kremlin or, some kind of mean, horrible person who was influenced by, terrible, terrible ideology in another country. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Elon Musk's mother was the latest to call out the New York Times hit piece. And it's interesting because they wrote a glowing piece about May Musk when it suited the New York Times. But when it didn't suit the New York Times, suddenly Elon Musk and his family, a big problem. They actually, he's purchasing Twitter because of the horrible things taking place in the country he grew up in, which everyone opposes. And no doubt Elon Musk and his family opposed. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel.